A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 110th episode of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. Back in April 2020, when the pandemic had just started, we at Notebook started this series of webinars. The idea was to provide a common platform for all our esteemed educators to share their thoughts and discuss various issues that they were facing right at the onset of the lockdown during the pandemic phase one. Well, little did we know that more than a year later, I would be inviting all of you to our 110th episode. This long journey has only been possible thanks to your love and support, and we would hope that you would keep supporting us in the days to come in the same way. We've discussed a myriad range of topics ranging from curricular to co-curricular to extracurricular, even topics like mental health. Today, along those same lines of mental health, we are going to discuss the power of positive thinking. We have often heard jokes of people with a certain blood group saying, I'm always positive, my blood group is B positive. Well, positive thinking goes beyond just your blood group. Positive thinking is a mindset, it's a way you approach every situation in your life, it's an attitude, and it is something that you pick up rather early in your life. Hence, schools have a huge role to play when it comes to inculcating this power of positive thinking. To discuss this particular aspect, our first speaker today is Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Burrett served the Doon School as Housemaster, Head of Department, Dean of Activities, Dean of Student Welfare, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. Mr. Burrett also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools in various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist, and we at Notebook are proud to have him as a senior advisor. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Bayu, for that introduction, and a very good evening to you, Achin, and all the entire team at Notebook, Calcutta. Also, very good evening to our esteemed panelists, Mrs. Sinha and Mr. Premkumar, as well as all those good people who have tuned in this evening. Today's topic is a very wide topic, which nobody would disagree with, despite people knowing all the positive effects of positive thinking. They just find it difficult to practice it and to make it a part of their lives. So from religious leaders, from Jesus to Buddha, the Thich Nhat Hanh to Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Alan Watts, Wayne Dwyer, all the great thinkers, psychiatrists, wisdom figures, philosophers, writers have shouted out aloud. And, they come out with so many of their slogans to think positively, limit one's wants, be less materialistic, live in the present, learn to do without, life is a casting off, it's all mind over matter. And in the athletic world where I came from, there was a saying that if you can't do it in your head, then you can't do it with your feet. Why even the world's top sportsmen and women, especially martial art experts, swimmers, they resort to a lot of positive thinking and visualization, especially to achieve their almost supernormal performances. We know that our thoughts affect our feeling and our feelings affect our behavior. So if we can affect and alter the ways of behaving, it is to correct our thinking. Many times we don't see the reality of the situation, but we see our perception of reality. Our brains pick out the negative messages, and this affects our moods. For example, the bad driver ahead of me this morning, I cursed and ranted, but what about if he had a problem? What about if he was really in a hurry to get to the hospital? So there are literally thousands of self-help and new age psychology books out there. Of course, Norman Vincent Peale was, with his best-selling book called The Power of Positive Thinking. Which is all the craze when I was in college. Why medical doctors and researchers have now linked negativity and stress to a host of medical issues, from diabetes, arthritis, dementia, and autoimmune disease. So, in all research, everything points to the fact that there's simple, doable, and neglected tips, Everyone says, rise early, exercise, meditate, cut the carbs, spend time with friends and family, establish social connect, read 50, 60 books a year, be playful, enjoy one's job. These are almost a recipe for personal happiness. And yet it's so difficult to follow. Um, uh, you know, uh, and yet, sometimes to ask people in war zones or people who live in slums or below the poverty line, how can they think positively? And yet, I think thinking positive is a state of mind. Even the poor in a slum, even the war-torn children of Syria can still think positively. It can be developed from breathing techniques to self-talk, from so many things that we see on television. We have self-help groups, gurus, dime a dozen, telling us the same thing. Healthy people think about what they want and how they want to get it. Most of the time, this way develops a positive attitude that can truly change our entire life. When one thinks and talks about what you want, you will get it. You feel happier and in greater control of your life. When you think about something that makes you happy, your brain realizes or releases endorphins, which give you a feeling of well-being. Now, how do you think positively? Based on many psychological tests, happy people seem to have a special quality that enables them to live a better life than average. And this quality is optimism. Optimists always will look at an opportunity when when there's nothing, the whole world looks dark, and they still can find something good in it. So when David saw Goliath, he could have said, I can't beat him, he's too big. But what did he say? He says, I can't miss him, he's so big. Or the other thing that I read about was two men looked out of the prison bars. One saw sand and one saw stars. A pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, but an optimist sees an opportunity in every difficult situation. Now, negative thinking can cause a host of problems. Pessimism, stress, anger, all these things can lead, and I said, to trigger off hormonal release, metabolic disease, immune functions. And therefore, I think that schools owe it to the children to teach them within the classes. I know you can't have special classes just for happiness. Some schools do have it, but how to think positively has to be woven into the very fabric of their lives and in their classes. Happy people find good in the world. They are optimistic and they find good in everything. They keep their minds on what they want. They keep looking for ways to get it. They're clear about their goals. They're confident that they will accomplish them. Optimists also look for the good in every situation, the silver lining, around every cloud. Optimists also seek the valuable lesson that in every setback or reversal, there can be something that they can learn from it. This is what we must teach our children. Every time they fall, resilience is about looking at what this taught you and coming back stronger. How do you train your mind to be positive? Training one's mind to think positively can be achieved by leveraging a simple concept, because your mind has enough bandwidth to focus on one thought at a time. All we have to do is to keep it focused on uplifting thoughts until certain type of neural pathways are created, which establishes a new habit. When a negative element occurs, remember that it's our response that truly determines the outcome. When we look for the positive response or optimistic lesson, then even a bad day becomes a good one. We need to decide to be happy. It's a decision that we make. It's not something that just takes place. You got to decide to be happy. Every morning when you get up, you got to plan your day, put the diary in, resolve to be cheerful no matter what happens. Your positive attitude has to show in action, the way you walk, the way you dress. It's easy to be cheerful when everything is going according to plan, but it is when you encounter unexpected setbacks and difficulties that one really has to demonstrate the attitude we are talking about. Positive thinking is all about looking at the glass being half full rather than half empty. Studies have shown that it can impact physical and mental health. Positive thinking, studies have shown that women from 2004 to 2012, there was a study that followed 70,000 women in the States, and they found that people who thought positively died of much less of heart disease, stroke, cancer, ovarian, lung, breast, respiratory diseases, and infection. There's much better quality of life, higher energy levels. They recover from injuries and illnesses faster. They have fewer colds. They don't suffer from so much depression. They have a longer lifespan. Now, if you look at schools, what can we teach them? We need to tell them to focus on the good things that have happened in their lives. We need to practice gratitude. For me, that works. The moment I feel low, the moment I feel I haven't got what I want, I count my blessings and tell myself, and I look at what I have. What I have is more important than what I don't have. We also need to be humorous. Nothing can, discourage a child more than a morose, sad, depressed teacher that he sees in the first school in the morning or first period in the morning. If we bring in humor into our classes, into the games field, to be able to laugh at ourselves. I think as a profession, we teachers take ourselves too seriously. I think we need to lighten up. We need to spend time with positive people. If I was in my school, we always had a bunch of teachers who were called the marsh. These were the negative elements, and they sucked everybody, especially new teachers, into this group. And the talk used to be, oh, why did you join school? The salaries are not good enough, and oh, it's a mug's game. When you have a group of people who are negative and you get sucked into it, what can you hope for? There's nothing positive. So we need to seek out positive people. Also, we need to practice self-talk, positive self-talk. I do it a lot, and I sometimes feel that if people heard me, they would think I'm mad. But it is very important to voice your words loud, especially when you're alone. We need to also help children identify when they are negative, what situations, what times, what things do bring out the negativity. And we need to stay clear from this. We need to school ourselves into seeing when are we negative, when are we positive. Stay away from those. And of course, I would say start each day on a healthy, positive note. I think physical exercise, the right type of foods. Another thing is that, our children are eating all the wrong stuff. It's it's full of sugar and carbs. And this affects insulin, it affects mood, it affects so many small physical parts of our lives. We are eating the wrong foods. And I think it's imperative that schools, just as they would not show, an objectionable movie to children, I think schools should never serve something that is a fast food. I want to end with something I read the other day. It's great to be positive, but sometimes being too positive also is not realistic. There was a paradox called the Stockdale paradox that I read about. And this is a story about Admiral Stockdale, who was captured in Vietnam in the Vietnam War, quite early in the war. And he was incarcerated in one of those terrible Viet Cong jails. And he survived all those years in Vietnam just because he wasn't positive. All the people who said, oh, we'll be free by Easter, and Easter came and went and they were not free, got depressed. And then they said, oh, we'll be free by Christmas. And Christmas came and they were still not free. While Admiral Stockdale said, they're not going to free us. We are here in for a long haul. Let's make the best of it. And sometimes I think over positiveness can be harmful. I think we need to see the reality, balance it out. And it's up to us teachers, I think, who have to set the tone of being positive ourselves. You know, I had a teacher who would come in and say, you won't pass your English, you're weak. And I mean, that sort of negativity gets transferred into everything. Yet I had my Hindi teacher who would say, Burrett, you're working very hard. You're going to do very well. So, these sort of comments, these sort of growth mindset comments, that you will be good, life will be better, the COVID will pass on. These are what keep you motivated and keep us happy. With that, Shubhayu, I'm going to hand this over to you. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those wonderful details and wonderful nuances of what positive thinking is, especially the Scottsdale paradox right at the end. I think that was a beautiful balance, sir. So with your permission, I would like to kind of narrate an incident that to me represents the epitome of positive thinking. And, I'm a huge fan of Indian sports. In another 2 days from now, we'll celebrate the anniversary of 25th June, the Prudential World Cup win in 1983. Just a few days back, we crossed 18th of June. 18th of June 1983, India was playing Zimbabwe at Tunbridge Wells. It was a quarterfinal match, and Indian team was at 9 for 4 when a 24-year-old captain Kapil Dev walked out to bat. Given the performance of the Indian cricket team in World Cups until that point, it was very easy to fold. Nobody would have held the team accountable for not doing well enough. 9 for 4 was not the shocking part. That's the funny incident. However, Kapil Dev then goes on to consolidate the innings, plays a knock of 175 not out of 135 deliveries, wins the match for India, and India goes on to win the World Cup. And if you ask me, that was ground zero for everything that happened in Indian cricket from that point onwards. So, sir, that's the best example of positive thinking I can think of.
Super example. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after that wonderful opening, it is now time to bring on our next speaker, Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. He is a fellow of the ICAI and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce, and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you. Achin, are you there?
Good evening, everyone. Shubhayu, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, we can hear you now. Thank you.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session on a very interesting topic, which is relevant to each one of us, irrespective of any age and stage of life that we are in. I'll start with a small story with regard to positive intelligence. In July 2010, Burt's Bees, a personal care products company, was undergoing enormous change. So it was in the process of global expansion, expanding into around 19 countries. So obviously a high pressure situation, right? As all of us would imagine. And in such a situation, normally, what do leaders do? Many CEOs, many leaders actually pester their deputies, frequent meetings, asking for a lot of urgent demands, sending urgent mails. And at times, naturally, all this lead to managers' anxiety levels hitting the roof. Now, but in this particular case, the CEO, John, he took a very different track. Each day, he would send out an email praising a team member. So each day, one new team member being praised for various activities, various work with regard to this rollout, global rollout to 19 countries. He went as far as interrupting his own presentation on the launch to remind his managers to talk to their team members about the company's values. Regular sessions with regard to employees' happiness. So he focused a lot on employees' happiness. He conducted 3-hour session on employees' happiness regularly. And he did all this in the middle of the company's expansion effort. So John's emphasis on fostering positive leadership kept his managers engaged and cohesive as they successfully made their transition to a global company. And the transition was remarkably successful. And this outcome shouldn't actually surprise us, because research shows that when people work with a positive mindset, performance on nearly every level, be it productivity, creativity, engagement, definitely improves. Yet happiness is perhaps the most misunderstood driver of performance. Most people believe that success precedes happiness. So it's like, once I get, great grades, once I get good grades, I'll be happy. Once I get a promotion, I'll be happy. Once I meet my target, I'll feel great. But we all need to realize that success is a moving target. As soon as you hit your target, you raise it again. And thus the happiness that results from your initial success is fleeting. In fact, it works the other way around. People who cultivate a positive mindset perform better in the face of challenge. I call this, so this is something like, so I would call this as something like, happiness advantage. And every business outcome shows improvement when the brain is actually happy. Another common misconception is that our genetics, like for instance, our environment or a combination of the two, actually determines how happy we are. So of course, these things have a bearing. But the importance of one's general sense of well-being has always been surprisingly malleable. The habits you cultivate, the way you interact with your co-workers, how you think about stress, all this can actually be managed to increase your happiness and your chances of success. Now, so we discussed about a good incident, right? We discussed about a great incident. We discussed about a role reversal. So do we need to succeed in order to be happy, or if we are happy, then we are successful, right? And I believe happiness precedes success. Now, coming to developing a new habit. Now, training our brain to be positive, I believe, is not greatly different from training your body to develop muscles at a gym. And recent research has proved it, that the ability of the brain to change, even in adulthood. So it reveals that as you develop new habits, you rewire the brain. Now, change in your relationship with stress. Now, stress is another central factor contributing to people's happiness at work. Just 1 second, I just adjust my. Now, stress. When we discuss about stress, this is today. If you look at modern lifestyle, stress is one of the most discussed issues, right? We always discuss about stress, how stress impacts our relationships, our performance, etc. Now, stress is another central factor. Undoubtedly, it is, like when it comes to contributing to people's happiness at work. And we see a lot of training programs. Burrett was referring to lifestyle gurus. Shubhai also referred to it. So a lot of training on how to mitigate stress. But I believe the way we can look at it is that people often get stressed out about being stressed out. Because we need to realize that at the end of the day, say, for example, if you ask any senior professional in any domain, say, for instance, great educators in this forum, a successful doctor, lawyer, anybody, to list some experiences that has actually shaped them and made them who they are today. You will see all the experiences that they will narrate will involve stress. After all, honestly speaking, people don't grow on vacation, right? You pick up any autobiography of anybody who has achieved substantially, you will see the same thing. Stress, not necessarily, we need to look at stress as an obstacle or as an impediment to growth. It can actually be the fuel for it. But it all depends on our attitude towards stress, which can actually change how it affects us. Another thing is, I believe our brains are hardwired to, and I was reading about this, some very interesting facts, that human brain actually at times is hardwired to focus on the negative. Now, why so? Why is this negativity bias? Mindfulness expert Meta McGravy said that, negative events and thoughts have proportionally a greater impact on our memory and psychological state than positive ones. And this is important from a survival standpoint. It really makes sense because, for instance, strong recollection of bad experiences means we are more likely to learn from our past mistakes so that, so as to avoid a life-threatening situation. But this negativity bias also means that smaller day-to-day, activities which causes stress tend to take precedence in terms of our thought process, leaving little room for positivity, for constructive thought process. But the good news is that our brains can actually change as we learn. So according to the expert, we can actually teach ourselves to think about positive things, to nurture positive experiences, and to maintain serenity. Say, for example, in a domain like education, we understand that there's a lot of stress. Of course, now during the pandemic, undoubtedly the situation is very stressful and the whole world is under stress. But even otherwise, a packed schedule, new requests coming from administrators, grading papers, at times, a lot of multitasking, a lot of things going on together, missed appointments. So naturally, at times we feel that how do we handle them better? How can we actually reprogram ourselves? How can we teach our brains to feel more positive? So I guess a few simple things, like for instance, taking short breaks several times a day. Practice of looking for small moments of kindness and beauty throughout the day. Even raindrops moving across your window, a moment of warmth and sunshine, an amiable exchange with a stranger. All this can actually make us feel better. Also, searching for positive qualities in others, especially in our loved ones. I was reading about this, that successful marriages have 5 positive interactions to each negative one. So ratio is 5:1. So appreciating good in others, it actually creates a virtuous circle. There's the entire, seeing the good in the other person, naturally it's a quid pro quo. There's a reciprocity involved. Exercising, it's a no-brainer, needs no elaboration. Trying to be persistent, like say, for example, if we decide, okay, these are 5 things we need to do. So we try to be persistent with it. But if we miss something, it's not that the entire world turns topsy-turvy. We still need to come to terms with it and continue. So now I'll discuss about an experiment that was conducted in 1960 by a pair of researchers who ran an experiment that changed the way the world thinks about expectation. Robert and Lenore. They told a group of teachers that some of their students have been identified as having the potential to become very high achievers. Now, the teachers were also not taken into confidence. They were called and they were said that, yes, we have identified this group of students. They can be very high achievers. And that these students would bloom over the course of the year. And these students were actually chosen at random. So the fact that they were chosen has got nothing to do with their past grades or their performance. But teachers, in turn, when they communicated it to students and when the word spread around, and at the end of the academic session, when researchers returned, they found that the chosen students had, on average, made significantly more progress than their peers. So this impact of high expectation, impact of having high expectation, this is known as this Pygmalion effect. As you are aware that in Greek mythology, Pygmalion was a sculptor who carved a statue so beautiful that he fell in love with it. His adoration was so strong that the gods turned the stone into a real woman. In sociology, the term is used in reference to living up to someone else's high standards of expectation. Now, there's also an opposite to this, the golem effect, named after a mythical violent monster, where low expectations can lead to people performing worse as a result of other people's expectation. Now, nearly 50, now say this study was conducted in 1960s. So today, when we are almost 60 years from this study, and today if we look at the power of expectation, we really see that yes, there are a lot of live cases, a lot of research, a lot of examples that has proved this. But what are the ways in which we can actually maximize this, especially in a classroom setting? I guess Burrett sir made a great point during the concluding part of his deliberation. So I'll rephrase it as distinguishing between aspiration and expectation. So aspiration as wanting to be better. Expectation is like conveying a belief about the likelihood of success. So raising expectation has been proven to help students, but the same can't be said for aspiration. Second, I think it's important to do it early. So at the starting of the academic year, motivating children that yes, of course, they can do better. Involving parents, we have been discussing in this forum again and again, have a great role to play, undoubtedly, especially in today's setting, of course, when they have also stepped into the shoes of taking care of day-to-day education. Being realistic, I think this is really important. That more is not always better. Evidence suggests that when expectations are unrealistic, that is, they far exceed a particular child's ability, this can actually lead to a downturn in academic performance. Because these excessive expectations can be a source of stress and anxiety for students. When it comes to expectation, it seems that Goldilocks rule applies. So which is like too little or too much, and it is no good. Challenging but realistic should be the guiding principle. So, but how do we do that? How do we encourage high self-expectation? So the way students think about themselves undoubtedly will have a very big impact, right? So one study that was conducted had participants spend 5 minutes thinking about the attributes of a college professor. So students were said that, imagine that you are a college professor. Think about the attributes and then answer some questions from the game Travel Pursuits. And what was the result? The students answered more correct answers than those who had not been trained to think like a professor. So the fact that students were requested or asked to think like a professor actually ensured that they performed far better. But I think it's important to not only think positively, but to act positively. In another study led by Lian Pham at the University of California, students were asked to spend few moments each day, every day, visualizing themselves getting a high grade in an upcoming exam. So this was like a daydreaming exercise. The students actually didn't do anything; they were just dreaming. And this lasted only a few minutes. It's not that they wasted the whole day dreaming. But at the end of the day, these students actually obtained lower marks. In another experiment, which was conducted in New York University, graduates were asked to note down how often they fantasized about getting their dream job after leaving college. Now, students who reported that, yes, we daydream, we always think about getting a great job, actually received fewer job offers and ended up with significantly lower salaries. But why so? Because maybe those who always dream about a wonderful life are ill-prepared for setbacks or becoming reluctant to put in the effort required to achieve their goal. But either way, the message is clear. Imagining the perfect you is not good for your life. Now, so how do we balance? We first, on the first place, we discussed about the great effects of positive thinking. And then we discussed about two case studies wherein we have seen that daydreaming and without any positive action on our part actually leads to an inverse correlation. So how do we actually balance? Now, when it comes to change, I think decades of research show that there is indeed a simple but highly effective way to transform how you think and feel. It's plain and simple common sense and grounded in science. But this entire concept begins with a small story, which was, and this story is about a world-renowned thinker, a world-renowned Victorian thinker, and an imaginary bear. Now, there was a gentleman by the name of William James, who used to work at the Harvard University in the late 19th century. He was the brother of novelist Henry James, a very famous novelist. I'm sure all of you are aware. And was attracted to the unconventional and often, he was very unconventional, and he used to often walk around the campus sporting a silk hat and red check trousers. I was reading about him and he used to describe his theories using amusing prose. A very strange way of describing himself. But his unconventional approach actually paid off. His 2-volume magnum opus, The Principles of Psychology, is still required for reading by students of behavioral science at the Harvard. It was published in 1890. And towards the end of 1880s, he turned his attention to relationship between emotion and behavior. And this part is very interesting. Emotion and behavior. Burrett also mentioned this. Our everyday experience actually tells us that our emotions actually cause us to behave in a certain way. Say, for example, feeling happy makes us smile, feeling sad may make us frown. So, but is it so simple? James became convinced that this commonsensical view was incomplete, and he proposed a radically new theory. And his theory was based on the fact that you do not run away from a bear because you are afraid of it, but rather you become afraid of the bear because you run away from it. So exactly opposite way of looking at it. So his theory was quickly labeled as years ahead of time by the university, and it lay there for more than 6 decades. And as we're aware that many self-help gurus promoted ideas which were in line with people's everyday experiences about the human mind. However, in the 70s, psychologists from the Clark University decided to put James' theory to test. So now they actually wanted to implement and see that is it working. So volunteers were invited into the laboratory and asked to adopt certain facial expressions to create so for example, to create an angry expression, participants were asked to draw down their eyebrows and clench their teeth. For happy expression, they were asked to draw back the corners of their mouth. The results were remarkable, exactly as predicted by James years before. Participants felt significantly happier when they forced their faces into smiles and much angrier when they were clenching their teeth. Subsequent research has shown that the same effect applies to almost all aspects of our lives. By acting as if you are a certain type of person, you become that person. So, which is called the as if principle. For instance, willpower. Motivated people tense their muscle as they get ready to spring into action. But can you actually boost your willpower by simply tensing your muscle? So there's a study which was conducted by National University of Singapore, which had volunteers visit a local cafeteria and ask them to try to avoid temptation and not buy sugary snacks. Some of the volunteers were asked to make their hand into a fist or like contract their biceps and thus behave as if they were more motivated. Now, amazingly, this simple exercise made people far more likely to buy healthy food. So this actually shows that this as if principle actually works. It actually works by behaving in a certain way, by acting in a certain way. People are being able to control themselves or to execute that. So few simple things that I think that really matters in today's topic. When we discuss about happiness, of course, smile, it plays a very big part. When we discuss about willpower, we discussed about tense up. So I think that again is really really important, as this particular experiment shows, Singapore University experiment. Something like and also simple facts like for example, someone who is dieting using a non-dominant hand, procrastination, making a start, persistence, sitting up straight and crossing your arms. So there was a research by University of Rochester which actually proved that your sitting posture determines how persistent you are. Confidence, negotiation, use of soft chairs. Now this is interesting. In a study which was conducted by MIT's Sloan School of Management, so participants were either asked to sit on soft or hard chairs and then negotiate over the price of a used car. Those in hard chairs offered less and were more inflexible. So in order to succeed in negotiations, this study proves that it's important to sit in a soft chair. Small things, but it's so important and scientifically proven by research. Again, another very simple things, people's sense of guilt. People's sense of guilt. Research has proved that people who take a shower or wash their hands immediately after any activity, any meeting where they suffer from a sense of guilt actually feel better. Chen Bo Zhong from University of Toronto discovered this, that people who carried out an immoral act and then cleaned their hands with antiseptic felt significantly less guilty. So I think, again, another thing very interesting, an activity like persuasion. So how to persuade somebody. Research shows that while explaining something, if we continuously nod, there's a psychological effect on the other person. And this particular research was led by Gary Wells of Iowa State University, who showed that people will reciprocate the moment and find themselves strangely attracted to a speaker who actually nods while speaking. And last, very important, in personal relationships, were definitely with our loved ones. So this was conducted by the university, by Robert Epstein, the founder of Cambridge Center for Behavioral Studies. He showed that, while trying to build an emotional bond with someone, trying to build trust with someone, trying to build a personal connect with someone. Questions like, what advice would you give to yourself if you are 10 years old? Or name one object that you would like to save if your house is on fire. Simple questions, but actually it tests the other person's mindset and instantly builds a connect. So actually helps. So I think these are a few important observations that I wanted to share. Various researchers around the world on this very important topic. And undoubtedly, when we discuss about positive thinking, I think the role of educators, the role of schools is very, very important, because that is where children actually learn positivity, which is the fuel for life. We have a great panel here today, and I really look forward to the deliberation on this very important topic. Over to you, Shubhai.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin said, we have a wonderful panel lined up for you. Before I invite them on, I'll just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about things we are doing here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech organization. We make short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. These videos are available for you to teach in the classroom, whether it's online or offline. And these same videos are available to your students at home on their personal devices. What this means is, after you use a video to teach a particular topic, the students can use the same videos to revise that topic later. I'm going to play a short clip of one of those Notebook videos that I'm talking about, so you would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Through the following case study, Ekta and her friends Raj, Abdul and Nandini took an initiative to form a company of automobiles in order to utilize their business opportunity to maximize their profits. They named the company as Salvator Limited. They fixed up signatories to the Memorandum of Association. Then they also appointed certain auditors for preparing the necessary documents. They also submitted Articles of Association, a document which defines the rules and regulations of the company, along with the written consent of proposed director. After that, a proper agreement and a statutory declaration along with a payment of fee for the registration of the company was submitted by the promoter to the registrar. After submitting the documents, promoters prepared an application and submitted with the documents for the incorporation of the company. After that, certificate of incorporation was issued and then they commenced their business. Formation of the company Salvator Limited involved a number of steps, from the time of emergence of the business idea till the time the company was legally ready to commence business. When a company is set up, the task includes completion of legal formalities and all the procedures. Therefore, formation of a company involves 3 different stages: promotion, incorporation, subscription of capital.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a small clip from the topic formation of a company. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. In fact, what we have been doing at Notebook is we have reached out to quite a few of the schools that you come from, and we want to develop schools into notebook centers of excellence. Now, this goes beyond just access to notebook content. Obviously, we would want to work with each and every school out there, giving them access to notebook content. But we would also want to develop schools into centers of excellence by going above and beyond just the content bit. If today your school chooses to become a notebook center of excellence, these are certain things that we offer. 1, an ongoing teachers training and workshops program. This is in addition to whatever you as a school must be already doing for skill development of your teachers. We have empaneled a number of very, very experienced teachers trainers, and they are available to conduct teachers training at each and every school, which becomes a notebook center of excellence. We will create additional public access portals. This is to say that at various points inside the school, be it your computer laboratory or your school library, or at other public access points, additional systems would be installed with Notebook running on them so that any student or any teacher or even any member of the staff can access information and look up any topic that they choose to. Basically, creating an environment of study at will throughout the institution. We also enter into event partnerships. This goes beyond just small events that the school must be doing for itself, but also talks about larger international scale events that Notebook conducts. We are obviously looking at speaking engagements on forums such as this that you're right now listening to, the Notebook Together for Education webinar, and various others, where we would want to partner with these institutions to create more speaking opportunities. There would obviously be co-marketing initiatives where various events, press releases, publicity pieces would obviously carry the names of the school partners as well as Notebook. Most importantly, this entire thing is offered as a managed solution model. There are people to handhold every student, every teacher throughout this journey. There are advanced analytics given to the school for every student using Notebook. And we believe all of these put together will help a school utilize Notebook's potential to the fullest for their students. If you want to become a Notebook Center of Excellence, reach out to any of us here at Notebook and we would be more than happy to help. Well, I was just talking to you about partnering for events. We have now partnered with IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. And as I announced in the previous episode of Together for Education, we have come up with Ignite, which is an international inter-school online innovation and entrepreneurship challenge for school students. This is open for students between classes 9 and class 12, with IIM Calcutta as a knowledge partner. We opened the registration last day, that is on Saturday. So far, we've had about 30 schools already register. Please remember that we can only accommodate 64 schools, and the registration closes on the 30th of June. So if your school has not registered yet, please go over to this particular link, http://bit.ly, that's bit.ly/notebook-ignite. That's one word, notebook-ignite. If you head over to this link, there are a few short fields to answer, and then we will get in touch with you and help you through the formalities. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was all about news from Notebook. It is now time to introduce the fabulous panel that we have lined up for you today. We have with us Mrs. Anuradha Sinha, who holds an MSc and a B.Ed, and her experience and journey has been for around 20 years, where she started her career as a coaching class teacher. She has experience in ICSE, CBSE, and CBSE boards. She was working in Dubai as the in charge of special needs students and lead teacher for science. She has been the recipient of humanitarian awards, Knowledge of Seed awards, Nation Building awards, and as a hobby, she is actively associated with several NGOs. Ma'am, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. It's a privilege to have you. We also have with us Mr. T. Premkumar, who holds an MSc in Education from the Regional Institute of Education and is a postgraduate in chemistry education from one of the foremost reputed teachers training institutes in India under the NCRT. He is a university second rank holder, silver medalist in postgraduation studies. He has also been the recipient of the Best Teachers Award from CBSE in 2017. Mr. Premkumar also received a certificate of commendation from Simmons College, Boston, US, for being voted as the best teacher by the alumni of Indian School, Muscat. In 2017, he was invited to Nagpur to present a paper at the 6th International Principals Education Conference on the topic Generating Happy Minds, Thought Behind Education, and presented a paper on the influence of music, art, and sports in creating happy minds at schools. He has also served as the chairman of the Gulf Council of the CBSE affiliated schools in the Middle East for the years 2019 and 20. Sir, thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute privilege to have you on the platform. I shall now stop the share and switch on my camera so that we can see each other and start with this discussion. Once again, thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute privilege having both of you here. Mrs. Sinha, if I may come to you first. Ma'am, my first question to you is, how should a school essentially go about inculcating positive thinking amongst its students?
First of all, good evening and namaste to all. I am thankful to Notebook for giving me platform to share my view. I will start my answer with one quote. Positive thinking is like first shower of monsoon gives life to all. Yes, you are correct that school and school teachers play a very important role in developing positive thinking in our student. Staying focused on the good or the upside and not quitting means every action that we perform may not always bring us closer to our goal, We will fall in our journey time and again, but as teachers and students, it is important for us to look at the positive outcome of the failed attempt. We need to ask ourselves, what I learned from this. Was it a total failure? Where did I go wrong? Most importantly, trying again and giving up. Next is express gratitude. Saying thank you is not just good manner, but also offer a path to better emotional health and a stronger relationship. So always we have to say thank you. All of these people and interaction that we appreciate, and expressing those feelings can boost our mood and pass that positivity along to others. In simple words, when we show gratitude, it means make us feel good. And when we feel good, our actions are better and then tend to succeed in our task. And as a plus point, our gratitude makes the receiver also happy. Regularly commit small act of kindness like budding system, means help each other. School environment should be positive by posting thoughtful quotation, poster, etc. Discuss a success story of person who started their career from zero, but now they are our hero, like Dr. Abdul Kalam, Sudha Chandran, Rajnikant, Mr. Narendra Modi, Sachin Tendulkar. There is a long list of this. So teacher play very, very important role in inculcating positivity in our student. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on those. Mr. Premkumar, I'll come to you next. Sir, you have a paper on happiness and how music, arts, and sports influence that. If you could tell us how you feel teachers should go about inculcating the spirit in students in school.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Roy, esteemed panelists. I thoroughly enjoyed last 1 hour listening to two stalwarts who had a number of stories to tell, and that is one of the strong method of communicating, and I thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you for that. Well, coming to a positive attitude, I think it is the most essential for creating a positive life, not just in the among the students, but even, I hope you can hear me. Yeah.
Yes, sir, perfectly fine.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Students are very vulnerable to, negative thinking, because today's world has changed a lot. And unlike the days when we grew up. So today, negativity is, if you switch on the television, you can only see the negativity being spread among the people in our country, and others also talking ill about the Indians, what's happening. No, a good deal of positive thoughts is being circulated even through the media. So you can expect our students to be very vulnerable to negative thinking. And they are easily affected by these negative conditions and circumstances. For the last 1 year and maybe 6 months now, we have been going through the corona pandemic. And no one has ever spoken positive about the corona pandemic to the children. In fact, all of them are living under fear. So teaching the students to develop a positive attitude early in life, I believe it helps them in thinking positive, and they can manage their responsibilities in better ways as they grow up. So it is the responsibility of teachers and parents to teach students to think positive and help them develop a positive attitude. And for schools to inculcate positive thinking, I believe we should start with the teachers, as we do in our Bharati Vidya Bhavan group of schools in the Middle East. I belong to a group of schools that strongly believes in the mental and emotional well-being of teachers and students. So unless a teacher unless until the teachers develop that positive thinking quality, we cannot expect from students anything much. So students learn from parents, that's the first school they belong to, and then they learn from the teachers, that's the second school they belong to. So 2 schools where the students belong to, and in both the places, I expect that the positivity should be spread among the young minds. So my message to my staff, my teachers, is to create an environment of positivity around themselves so that when they go to the class, they spread positivity. So you need to show your positive attitude in whatever you say, you believe, and you do. This is a message for all our teaching staff in the school. And same thing applies to the students. So because students see and copy what elders do in front of them. I heard my own children telling me that my teacher told me this, I will only do that. So this is a belief that, young kids gain from school. So when you handle the situation positively in front of the children, they will learn how to solve their problems easily, is my strong belief. So the teachers must always teach the children in the class that being positive or negative is a choice that they should make for their own benefit and enjoy their school life. We encourage them to be positive in all circumstances, but students have their own problems, which we do not know. Some students hide them and they get into all kinds of problems, which we know. So you need to teach the students that every problem has a situation and encourage them to share their problems with their teachers or parents. So we have empowered our class teachers in the school, and we have something called as a homeroom period at the beginning and at the end of the day when students, yes?
No, sir, I think that was a noise. Please carry on.
Okay. So we have the homeroom period where a teacher, the class teacher, gets to meet all the students twice a day and interact with them. It's a lively chat between the students and the teachers. And the teacher will encourage the students to speak up and convey their problems, if any. Of course, as I told you, there are a few students who are very reserved and may not speak. And for them, we have something called as a courtesy call. We make a courtesy call just to say, hello, how are you? And at that time, the kids will speak up and they will tell what happened or what is ailing them. So the teachers have a very, very important role in our organization. So schools, therefore, I believe, must create such positive environment in classes. And the school in general, the general atmosphere of the school should be very positive. And as I heard the speaker before, who said the teachers must tell them funny stories, make them laugh. And all this we do just to calm their turbulent minds, So also teach them how positive thinking and feeling good shifts their own brain chemistry and attract good things in their life. And as Madam said that teachers must write positive inspirational quotes, we do that we use whiteboard, so I don't say blackboard. So we write on the whiteboard some very catchy quotations. And also we make posters and display them, laminate them and, display them in the classrooms, not just leave them on the walls, but we also explain the meaning of these. So I think by doing all these things, we have achieved some amount of, happy children in our school. And as I said, I presented a paper at the International Conference on Music, Dance, and Sports. That's because we lay a lot of emphasis on that in the school. And through that, we have seen that the kids have become very, very happy kids, and they love to come to school. And, we have identified some children who have some challenges in their life. And early morning, these kids are taken to a room and we just play music. We just tell them do aerobics, dance, play. Well, all of the students in the school will go for the school prayer. and all other work they do in the assembly. But these kids, they're allowed to have fun. Start the day with fun. And we have seen such children now. They're very fidgety, they were very troublesome, but their mind has calmed down, completely calmed down. So that prompted me to present a paper at the international conference that music, dance, and sports plays a very important role in calming the kids. So this is what we do in school. And we have a good standing in the country here in Kuwait as one of the premier schools, because we don't believe in just teaching the subjects. We go beyond that. We go beyond to reach out to the children's mind, the emotions, mental and physical well-being. So we have a good standing in this country. And we also received a letter of commendation from the Prime Minister Modi, as our kids have gone far helping the downtrodden and the people who had, issues with the floods and the landslides, etc. So we teach values along with the curriculum. So that's something which I can share with you.
Wonderful, sir. Value education, role modeling, I think extremely important both. So you said how teachers are very important to your organization. I would just take it one step further. Throughout these last 110 episodes, we have told this a lot of times, and we would just try to reinforce it, that we believe teachers are central to the whole idea of school education.
Yes.
They are irreplaceable. They are the most important bits.
Yes.
Organizations like us, the best we can do is make their jobs easier, give them support and aid, whichever way we can. Thank you so much, sir. Anuradha ma'am, if I may come to you next. Ma'am, when we were in school years back, we understood that there was this aptitude versus attitude debate, right? And schools were places where you picked up aptitude, knowledge about a particular subject. Today, we are seeing a shift where a lot of it deals with attitude, positive thinking, mental health, etc. Ma'am, how do you see this, this bridge being built?
See, aptitude and attitude can develop simultaneously. Why? Because kids are imitating their elder. Not only elder, anybody. And they learn imitating adults around them at a very young age. Positive thinking doesn't need a special hour of the day. Positive thinking must begin with teachers. As Mr. Prem also said, the role of teacher is very important for making them positive, plus to counsel them, etc. As you know that in this pandemic time, everywhere lockdown, 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 but teacher is always on and they are still in the contact of student as well as parents. As a teacher, we are not only enhance the positivity of our student, but time to time, we are counseling our parents also. And we are saying a very good quote is there that our mind is a magnet. If we think a blessing, automatically it attracts blessing. And if we think of problems, then it attracts problems. So better that always we have to think good. So our environment remain positive and good. A teacher has a positive mindset. Although as everybody witnessed that everywhere there is sorrow, there is death, there is scarcity of medicine, oxygen, etc., etc. But our society is looking at teachers' community that they have to give positive vibes to everywhere. And you will not believe, since last March lockdown till today, we are spreading positivity in our society. And our education minister, our prime minister, even the Supreme Court appreciated the role of teacher. That's why they believe in teacher, our system. That's why they cancel the board for not only 10th, 12th also, because they know the society, the kids are in the safe hand of teachers. Teachers are really doing creative thing for society, not only in India, across the world. A teacher has a positive mindset or attitude, only then she or he will be able to develop the same among students. That's why in our training, in our webinar, it is always said that keep your worry outside the gate and enter with positive mindset. It means teacher have to keep a smiling and positive attitude all the time. No, teachers are also human beings, but with the training, with the proper means interaction with each other, we are able to control our emotion and keep our sorrow or sadness away from us during the interaction with the kids as well as parent. And here I would like to appreciate the steps of CBSE who arranged so many webinars, so many training programs to keep our mindset healthy and positive. The word which are chosen by teacher to give feedback to the student or for performing a task, for example, instead of I can't do it, teachers should encourage children with word like you can. And here we can give one example of Abdul Kalam, who always say, we can, we can. Nothing is impossible in this world. I believe you can do it. So these kind of simple sentences enhance the positivity in the kids. The way they address the students should also be positive. As Prem sir also said, we have not to say negative in front of kids. If suppose that they are unable to do their task, then no need to fire, no need to humiliate in front of everybody. Try to channelize their energy in proper way, as Mr. Prem said, that they are developing or molding their negativity by music, art, and craft. Action speaks louder than word, and children will imitate their teacher. His or her presence encourages positive thinking. So everything should be positive when we are interacting with the kids. Art integrated course help in creating positive atmosphere in classroom. Last 2 years, it is compulsory for all the CBSE school to inculcate art like music, drawing, dance, etc. even in math also. As everybody aware that math is very dry subject, but it is inculcated in their lesson plan. So make it joyful. The studies should be joyful, not boring for them. Helpful and caring behavior of teacher develop positivity in their student. Thank you, Subhayu.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Premkumar, I think we've covered that answer well. With your permission, can we take an answer from a question from the audience?
Yes,
I think
sure.
we have two very interesting questions. We have one from Himla Rasuri, ma'am. Ma'am herself is a psychologist. She has been on the panel a couple of times before. Sir, ma'am asks that please discuss a little on toxic positivity, which I think Burrett sir also mentioned. An obsession for positive thinking and having make-believe of having all good even for the saddest and tragic experiences, which is often referred to as gaslighting, something which is actually an extension of toxic positivity. Sir, your thoughts about that? Can we go overboard?
Yes, Hema ma'am is very well known to me, and I am very happy that I get the opportunity to answer her question. And her question I will answer with the most famous story, which I always tell in my classes about positive thinking and being very positive. And that's the story of the great Thomas Alva Edison. It was around 5 p.m. in the evening at West Orange City, New Jersey, when Thomas Alva Edison's factory was on flame. And he was just standing on the roadside watching his whole factory burn down, while people around were making a lot of noise and there was a fire engine and all that. And his son, Charles, comes to him running and says, "Dad, what are you doing? Our factory is on fire. And you're simply standing and gazing. What are you doing?" So Edison tells his son, Charles, "Charles, run home and bring mommy and all our friends as fast as you can, because they will miss a spectacle in their life. They will never get to watch this show once again." I believe what Emma ma'am wrote, this is the height of toxic positivity. Even in the whole factory where he worked for years, he's getting burnt down into ashes. He remained positive, and he says next day at the press report, when people asked him, "What did you reply to your son when he asked you about this?" He says, "I see it as my all mistakes being burnt down, and I'm given a second opportunity to improve upon my research work. And I'm very optimistic that within no time, I will make my discovery." So Edison is a living, an example of the so-called toxic positivity. When the calamity struck him, he simply stood there and appreciated what happened, right? But today you can't expect similar Edisons in our life. Even if you lose one penny, there are people who are heartbroken. They have illness, they have sickness, because today no one can take negative impacts. So today, I believe that when we groom our children, we have to tell them that everything can't be goody-goody in life. There are ups and downs. When there is happiness, there is sorrow, right? So when there is profit, there is loss. So there is something called as unhappy moments in everyone's life, but not to take that seriously is what we should be telling them. Not to say that even when one close person of ours, he dies or she dies, we can't say just sit and laugh and show that you are very positive. That is not what is called the teaching the skills of life, right? So we have to tell them that there are times when we will not be doing well. As you can see in the test matches and the one-dayers and the T20s, some we win, some we lose. And I have heard many a times Virat Kohli says that, yes, we didn't play well, we lost. When we play well, we win. So, yes, everything that happens can't be viewed as with a positive frame of mind. That's not life all about. Because children, if that happens, then even when they get a 0, they'll be saying that we should have a celebration at home, right? So that extent we don't go. But when they get less marks, we tell them, never mind, it happened this time, you can do better next time. So we have to communicate and we have to say that, yes, it is not good, but never mind, you can make it. So I agree with what ma'am has written, that, a toxic positivity is not what is expected when we talk of positive thinking, right? Whenever there's positive, there's negative. An electrical device never functions if both the terminals are positive. There should be a positive terminal, there should be a negative terminal. Then only the bulb glows. The bulb is our life. Our life glows only when the connection between positive and negative happens. We have to strike a balance. That is my answer to her.
Thank you so much, sir. She's already written, thank you so much, sir. Absolutely wonderful example. And I completely echo her beliefs, especially the part where physics met philosophy.
Yes.
It's really interesting. Anuradha ma'am, we have a question specifically for you. Anuja ma'am asks, how do the students stay positive during this tough time when they hear only negative news around them because of the pandemic? How does one keep a small child of 8 years positive when they hear their friends and family members falling sick? And this has been one of my questions as well, because while we in schools want to teach positivity, unfortunate reality is the student might be sitting in a home where a parent could have lost a job, finances might not be very good, and therefore there's a negativity that surrounds the child. How do you ask the child to remain positive in that space?
Very good question you asked, as well as Miss Anuja. And as I told you earlier also, now it is the responsibility of teacher, entire society given duty to us to keep positivity in society. And as I told you earlier also that CBSE trained us in such a way to handle this situation very nicely in a positive way. And there are so many small tips which parent can adopt and keep positive environment in their home also. Through counseling parent, regularly conducting on one-to-one meeting, which we are doing. Suppose that we are getting report from our teachers that the behavior of a student, because you know that these days online classes are going on. So we are not restricted till our campus. We are everywhere, in the kitchen, in the drawing room of students. So the vibes which is coming out during the online classes, as well as the mood of the kids, or suppose that kids are absent, then teachers reports me, class teacher, subject teacher, and on the basis of their report, we are doing one-to-one counseling of a parent and trying to encourage them. As you know that everywhere negativity, money crunch is there. So many parents lost their job. They are unable to pay fee. We know, because we are living in realistic world. So during the counseling time, we are trying to support them, not only means academically, but emotionally also. And always we are saying them that we are there with you. Don't worry. If you are unable to pay fee, you will not believe our trustees are so kind that they have given round about 20 lakh from their pocket to the needy parent. They completely waive off the fee of the genuine parent who lost their job. So this kind of thing we are doing. And by this, I think we are able to at least create positive mindset for few of the parent. And we are advising our parent, please don't use any harsh word at your home. Always say good word. While using day-to-day word, you have to be very alert, encouraging children to have role model with positive thinking or attitude. Means, as you know that due to the lockdown, so many parents are working from home only, mainly the IT sector, young couple. So what we are advising them, keep some good books and develop reading habit in yourself as well as in your kids. And you know that the green plants always give positive environment. So we are advising them to plant some indoor plants to keep positive environment in your home. And as you know that 5th June was the environmental day. So that day we made compulsory to at least plant one plant at your home and send picture to us. So these are the few things which everybody can do. Means sapling hardly cost 10 rupees, 15 rupees, and anybody can afford them. Similarly, parent can cook some favorite food for their kid, and the happiness, the smile which comes on their kid automatically give positive vibes to them. Parents should avoid fighting with each other, mainly in presence of their kids. Parents should spend quality time with kids. What is the meaning of quality time here? So simple things are there. While watching TV, while watching news, you have to be with kid and interact with them. Suppose that some documentary is going on, then ask few questions to them. It is not that the monotonous or statue-like behavior that you are with your mobile kids is with their mobile and watching news. It is not a type of quality time. You have to be interactive with your kids. Chess is very means less expensive kind of game. Carom board, Ludo, this uh, thing you can play at your home. And main thing, what I would like to say here, be interactive and use respectful word at home. And the very important thing, music. Music always gives soothing effect to our mind. So play some favorite song of your child. Suppose that music system is not there, then no worry. You can sing a song for your child. And I think today is a music day. And in social media, I saw so many father, mother are singing good song or favorite song of their for their kids. So in this way, we can keep positive environment in our home as well as in our society. And in this, nothing so costly. Either keeping book or buying Ludo or purchasing a sapling, these are hardly 100 to 200 rupees matter. So by this, we can easily create positive environment, happy environment in our home, although negativity is around. Thank you.
Wonderful, ma'am. I think you've outlined some great steps, but most importantly, my congratulations to your board of directors for taking that so human step. I think the name Manav Mandir High School is so justified in my mind right now.
Yes,
I think
thank
it's a
you.
brilliant thing that they have done. Sir, if I may come to you, same question. How do you manage the negativity of the parents whom you're not teaching on a day-to-day basis?
That's a very good question. Yes, negativity among the parents was a bit high during the pandemic. Okay. And we had tough times, to be very honest, because last March, we started the online classes, which was for the first time, I think all our teachers were exposed to, a type of teaching which they never experienced before. So there was always a reluctance on the part of the parents to accept it. But we have our own ways. As I told you, that we follow the Bharati Vidya Bhavan culture. And slowly we took all the firings from them. And then we had, after the firing gets over, after some time, the magazine gets empty. Okay. And so then we call them for meetings in small groups. Okay, we never call them in bigger groups, because in bigger groups, they become very charged. So we call them in smaller groups, and then we have a open discussion with them. And we try to convey to them that if you don't want your children to have any learning gap, this is the only option that we can do during this pandemic. So you won't believe, within 2 months, they started writing appreciation letter to us, saying that the online classes are very, very well conducted, and students are enjoying thoroughly, all those things. So our method is, we never react to any kind of criticism from the parents, because we believe that everyone can't appreciate you, right? There are some people who will be definitely criticizing any action that we may do. So since we know that, we take in all what they have to give us, and then we analyze and respond. We respond to all their reactions. And with that, I think for the last 18 months now, we have been able to calm them down. But we conveyed a strong message to parents that if you speak in front of your children ill about your institution or the teachers, it is not that the teachers or the institution will lose their standing. It is you and your child who will lose a lot in the process. So always speak positive. Even when you have disagreements with the organization, you can keep that aside in front of your kids and always speak positive. So nowadays, in front of the children only, they will say this teacher did very well and that person did very well. But they do write to us, right? Through our email communication, because we made them understand that if you are going to spread negativity, your children will be more negative. So speak positive, encourage them so they will come to the classes and will attend the classes regularly. So our method is very simple. That is, we know what can happen and what will happen. Accordingly, we will handle the parent profile, We know in our 2,500 parents, is about only 500 parents who are troublemakers. So these 500, we will never meet them together. We'll meet them in smaller groups. And then we control the 500 at large. So negativity can never be ruled out in an education institution, right? So how we do that, how we overcome that is our skill, which we have learned over the years, because we believe in spreading positivity. So that is what is our success, I should say.
Thank you so much, sir. You have a problem, which is negativity. The best way to combat that is with positivity.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And on that very, very positive note, once again, thank you so much for being here today. We've had a wonderful discussion. We could have gone on and on, but unfortunately, we'll have to draw it to a close now. I would now like to invite Achin for the vote of thanks. Achin, you will have a wonderful, wonderful discussion to thank for. So over to you.
Really, I think some great exchange of thoughts, wonderful ideas. Burrett sir, thank you for giving us a great start and for also sharing your perspective on this. And what I really liked is you really give us a very holistic, all-round 360-degree perspective, of the topic, which gave us a great start. Thank you, sir. Premkumar sir, I sincerely thank you. I think I really like the way you approach the topic, spreading positivity. And it's a huge transformation, I must say. Like right from the days of, 15 months back when the pandemic hit us, and all of a sudden, as you rightly mentioned, new ways of teaching, schools going completely online, etc. And what I really liked is a full circle, like starting from negativity to reluctance to, absorbing everything. It takes a lot of maturity to do that. I'm sure that all educators in this forum would agree. To holding open, transparent discussion in small groups. And from there, being able to convince them that this is the only way to ensure that there are no learning gaps. And those very parents coming back and appreciating you. Yeah. So I think one of the key takeaways of this session, I think you summed it up very beautifully, that not to react, but to analyze, respond, and maybe, good positive action. So instead of reacting, acting on a positive note, but acting after analyzing and then deciding how to respond.
Yes.
Also, sir, I think a great example about Thomas Alva Edison's example of 1914, the fire that happened in West Orange, New Jersey. I think, and one of those quotes, with regard to this, is one of my all-time favorite quotes, when Edison said that I'll start all over again tomorrow. I think that's the spirit, I think which all of us need to inculcate.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for spreading positivity in today's panel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anuradha ma'am, thank you so much for being here with us today, for sharing your thoughts. I think some very, very nice points, ma'am, you highlighted, starting from some beautiful quotes that you shared with us. Also, the importance of conducting one-on-one meetings. I think we all agree, that is very important, especially in critical times like this, when people have so much in their plates, so much of problems, right, that we see all around. Job losses, at times parents and children sharing the same laptop, same device at their homes. A lot of problems that people actually do live with, right? People losing their loved ones, so many people suffering from COVID over the last few months. So in between them, I think a healing touch, a sensitive approach really helps. And also, I think you placed a lot of importance on interacting with kids, and you deliberated on that very well. And of course, the best part, which we really like, Shubha, you also mentioned that. Indeed, ma'am, I think great example that you and your school management have set, your trustees have set, by helping parents who have lost their jobs, genuine cases, etc. I think it really speaks volumes. Great. And also with regard to your thoughts on teachers, of course, undoubtedly, last 15 months, these are Indian teachers have demonstrated that to the entire world that what teachers are capable of. And personally, I can tell you, since we work closely with so many schools today, more than 2,000 schools across the country, I can tell you, I have seen educators with decades of experience, educators who are on the verge of the retirement, being able to pick this online class, being able to be conversant with usage of device within a short span of less than a month or two, and I've seen them being completely comfortable with that. So hats off to the spirit of Indian teachers. I must say, ma'am, we completely agree with you. So I think great session we had. Some wonderful deliberations. I also thank members of the audience for their time here today. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.